Guys, honestly, we are just about halfway through the year, and straight up, 2023 is looking to be one of the best years in gaming. Specifically, some of my favorites are Resident Evil 4 Remake and Dead Space Remake, which actually both turned out to be a survival horror remake. And it's really got me thinking, guys, what other survival horror games are coming out this year, and which one should we be most excited about? So my name is Ruben with Nerdspace, and I'm here to tell you my top 10 survival horror games coming in 2023. Let's get it. So number 10 on this list, we're gonna take a look at Amnesia: The Bunker, because this game looks terrifying and I'm really excited for this one. So I've actually haven't had a chance to play most of the Amnesia games. The only one I really touched so far is The Dark Descent, but this game specifically has my attention, and this is why I started to play the Amnesia games. Because this game looks amazing. It looks incredible. So first off, it seems like they're taking a different direction with this game compared to past entries, mainly for the fact that they are actually going to make this one semi-open world, which is very different for the Amnesia game. But I'm very interested to see how a semi-open world works with this IP, and I think it could do really well, and I'm really excited about it. This game releases on June 6th. I'm definitely gonna pick up this game and try it out. I'm hopefully gonna be done with the rest of the franchise before this game's release. Not that you have to play the rest of the games, it's just something I want to do. They are all standalone games, so you don't have to worry about playing the rest of them before you play this one. I think one of the biggest elements of these games you have to take into consideration is that a lot of these games, and this one might be different, but for the most part, these games are less fight and more flight, which basically means less combat and more running and hiding away from all the enemies. You're usually very low on resources, so it's a really interesting take on the survival horror genre. I'm really excited for this one because, again, the whole horror element with this semi-open world has me interested. So number 9 is Daymare 1994 Sandcastle. Now, I am going to be honest, I'm kind of biased with this choice. I'm sure a lot of you guys are like, what the hell, why is this on the list? Because if you know anything about the original game, it really didn't get a lot of good feedback. But honestly, I really enjoyed the first game. And I felt like it was a great love letter to the Resident Evil franchise, because that's what the first game was actually based on. It was based on Resident Evil 2. They were inspired by that game. And I really had a lot of fun playing Daymare. Now, don't get me wrong, the game definitely struggled a lot. The combat was a little wonky. The story was, well, crazy, honestly. But hey, I still found it to be a really fun game. Anyways, this game is supposed to feature a lot of different elements that were not in the first one. Obviously, with it being a sequel, but the combat's supposed to be so much better. The graphics look really great compared to the original. Inventory looks fantastic. And also, it looks like the puzzles are a lot more difficult and are a lot more fun. That was one of my problems with the original Daymare as well, is that the puzzles is kind of really lackluster, and I think it needed a lot more puzzles in it. And it seems like they're taking that into consideration and stepping it up for this title. The combat system is what probably looks like it's the most improved section of the game, because it has a lot of different resources you can use. There's also a demo out right now on PC if you want to give that a shot. But this game releases very soon. It releases on August 30th. Let me know if you guys already played the demo, and let me know if you guys plan on picking this game up. Moving on to number 8, we're taking a look at Layers of Fear, which is a first-person survival horror game. Another one of those games I haven't really touched. So this is actually the third entry sort of to the franchise, because this one is actually a reimagining of the first two games while also adding a third chapter to it. And if you don't know the team behind this is actually Bloober Team, which is the same team behind the Silent Hill 2 remake. And I think that's why I have this on the list, is because I'm excited to see what Bloober Team is capable of, again, before the Silent Hill 2 remake comes out. Because if you don't remember, Bloober Team was also behind The Medium, which was a game that I thought was gonna feel very Silent Hill-esque, and it really didn't. Don't get me wrong, Bloober Team knocked it out of the park when it came to the environmental horror. However, every other element of that game was rough. The gameplay was really boring. the tension was not there at all. So just a few notes on Layers of Fear. Like I mentioned, they are only adding a third chapter to the story. The other two are reimagining of the first two games, and you are playing a character known as the Rider, going through a lighthouse, and it looks really cool. The trailer looks amazing. They do have the demo available on PC right now, just like the rest of the games we've already talked about. I'm interested in this game mainly just because I want to see what Bluebird team is capable of, and to see if they learn from their mistakes of the past, because if they didn't, I'm a little concerned for Silent Hill 2 Remake, honestly.
Every family's got secrets, but not like mine.
Daniel, no!
Speaking of Silent Hill, let's talk about Stray Souls, because that is my number 7, and honestly, I've been waiting for this game since 2021. So when I first saw this game, when I first saw that trailer and then started seeing more information on this game, I immediately thought, okay, this game is Silent Hill. This literally looks like Silent Hill to me. And I think that's the reason why I'm so excited for this game, and I've been waiting so long for it, because before we knew we were getting all those Silent Hill games, this was the next best thing in my opinion. And honestly, I'm really excited for this. So right now we don't have an official release date. We just know this game is supposed to release in fall of 2023. But basically you portray a character by the name of Daniel, who on his 18th birthday, he gets a really awesome gift. He gets a house from his grandmother, and you know, he thinks this is all great and stuff until he actually moves into the house and starts learning about all the dark secrets and many other mysteries. So this game looks like a lot of fun. The gameplay looks it looks basic, nothing exciting. It seems to really capitalize on the fight versus flight combat system, but I think the thing that has me the most excited about this is that, one, it feels like a real survival horror game, and there's a lot of puzzles, which to me is a very important aspect to survival horror. I love the puzzles in these games. Like, you have everything there is to love about a survival horror game with this title, it seems. You got creepy crawling monsters running around, and then you got mind-bending puzzles. What more could you want from a survival horror game, honestly?
Welcome back to Citadel Station.
So number 6, we are taking a look at yet another remake that is coming out this year, and that is System Shock Remake. So once again, and I probably sound like a broken record right now, but I've yet to play the System Shock games. To me, it kind of reminds me of Dead Space, but in first person. Let me know if you played the System Shock games before, and if that sounds about right, but that seems to be my first impression of this game just by looking at it. Now, at the time of recording this game has yet to come out. However, by the time I post this video, it will only be one day before it releases. So this game comes out really soon. May 30th is when we're gonna see the release of this one, and I'm excited to get my hands on this. Like I said earlier, Dead Space is probably one of the best games of the year. So if this game really does compare to Dead Space, but in first person, then I can see this game being a lot of fun, terrifying, and again, another home run when it comes to the survival horror games. Based off of the trailer, it looks like you're in a very terrifying and horrifying environment with all these creepy alien creatures running around. I think my only fear in this game, and the only reason why I didn't put this a little bit higher up, is that I do think the trailer has a little bit of action in it, honestly, which is fine. I mean, Resident Evil 4, definitely an action game too. A perfect example of what I do not want would be probably Doom. I don't want to see a Doom game out of this, and I don't know what to expect when it comes to System Shock, because again, like I said, never played the original game. But for me, Doom is less horror and more just run, gun, and shoot and crazy, insane moments. I want something more similar to Dead Space or even BioShock. BioShock probably is the perfect comparison to make, because that is a first-person shooter that has a lot of horror elements, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you excited for this remake? Do you think it's going to be a true survival horror? Or do you think it kind of falls more in line with like Doom, like an action first-person shooter?
The situation regarding site exposure is a growing concern. I've spoken with Tout numerous times, increasing safety regulations.
Speaking of terrifying, horrifying sci-fi survival horror, let's take a look at the next one on this list, number 5, Fort Solis. So I'm actually really excited for this game as well, and honestly, this one just kind of came out of the blue, straight up. So first off, this game is set to release in summer of 2023, so hopefully in the next few months we should see this game. We don't have an official release date yet, but hopefully it won't be too much longer. But I know I was making a lot of comparisons with System Shock to Dead Space, but this game feels more like Dead Space. So we didn't get to see a lot of gameplay on this game yet, but it does look really exciting. First off, we got my boy Troy Baker in this, which he is the voice of Joel from The Last of Us, but you also have Arthur Morgan himself from Red Dead Redemption, Roger Clark, voicing the main protagonist in this game. So that's really, really exciting. But you play as a character known as Jack Leary, who is voiced by, like I mentioned earlier, Roger Clark, and he's an engineer on Mars. And when stuff starts to go a little crazy and starts to get a little spooky, he has to kind of deal with all of this stuff, and it gets really, really intense and really crazy, it seems. Like I said, there's not too much to know about this game other than the fact that it's being compared a lot to Dead Space. It also looks really, really good, really, really nice. It looks crisp as hell, honestly. I really hope this turns out good because, like I said, from outside looking in, this game looks to be a home run, honestly.
And who the fuck are you?
So number 4, we come to the first game on the list that we're not 100% sure we are going to see in 2023. As of now, it's still announced that this game should be coming by the end of the year, specifically December of 2023. And that's gotta be Stalker 2. This game has had me hyped since its announcement. I mean, it looks like everything I'm looking for in a survival horror first person experience. Now, normally most survival horror games that are in first person, I don't really enjoy as much. But there are a few that actually knock it out of the park. A perfect example of this would be BioShock, like I mentioned earlier. But I think this game has the potential to really, really wow me, honestly. And it's so sad with everything that's going on that this game has kind of been pushed back for so long. And obviously you can't fault the studio behind this at all with everything going on over in Ukraine. Of course, this is understandable, but it seems like the studio is still to release this game later this year. So until we hear otherwise, I'm putting it on this list. Basically, like I mentioned earlier, this game is a first-person survival horror experience that actually is set in a, again, semi-open world-ish environment, but specifically set in Chernobyl. And what's really cool about this is that this is a survival horror experience where the choices and the decisions you make could influence different types of consequences. So I'm really interested in seeing what that means because we haven't really seen what that means yet in any of the trailers. And some of the enemies look really, really exciting. So obviously you have the basic human enemies, of course, but then you have some like different animals and terrifying monsters type. It looks like that there are some monsters that kind of turn invisible as well, which looks pretty badass. So let me know if you played the original Stalker, and let me know if this sequel is something that you guys are looking forward to. So number 3 is a game that I wasn't super excited about until very recently, honestly. And I have the Alone in the Dark Spotlight event to thank for that. Because honestly, my impressions of this game, my excitement for this game went through the roof whenever I saw this event. And I'm really excited for this game now. I almost put this at number 1 or number 2, straight up. But Alone in the Dark releases on October 25th. And it's a reboot of the original game, which is really, really exciting because honestly, the original game is what inspired Resident Evil to begin with. Resident Evil was making a first-person horror shooter back in the day, and they completely started over with the development whenever they saw Alone in the Dark, and they're like, hey, that actually looks like it might be more exciting to do. And they went that route instead, and that's where we got Resident Evil. Thanks to Alone in the Dark, we got Resident Evil. Anyways, this game looks amazing. It has a lot of survival horror aspects to it. It has a very great atmospheric environment to it as well. Like, it's very, very scary just walking around the different areas, it seems. You also have great actors portraying the main characters here. You can portray one of 2 different characters played by David Harbour himself from Stranger Things, or Jodie Comer, but yeah, these are 2 phenomenal actors, and I'm really, really glad to see them portrayed in a survival horror game. I think they're going to do a fantastic job. What's crazy is that there's 2 huge survival horror games coming out within the same week of each other, so it's going to be interesting to see which one does better. I got my money on the next one, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But again, like I said, Alone in the Dark is kind of a sleeper hit for me. I did not expect to like this game as much, and it looks gorgeous. It looks beautiful and terrifying at the same time. So pick this game up on October 25th. And if you want, they do have the playable demo available right now. You can go check that out as well. It's the entire prologue, apparently, where you play as a character named Grace. So let me know if you played the demo, and let me know what you guys think about Alone in the Dark. Are you going to check it out when it releases, or are you going to pass on it? So honestly, I went back and forth between number 2, number 3, and even number 1. I thought all 3 of these games are gonna be fantastic and I cannot wait to get my hands on them. But number 2 is Alan Wake 2. So first off, this game releases on October 17th. And something I want to talk about first before I get into the details of this game is the fact that this game is actually going to be a digital release only. And the reasoning behind this is for 2 reasons. One, they wanted to make the purchase price lower than the normal AAA games that come out nowadays. So this game is actually going to release at $60 on console and $50 on PC, which is great, but I really do like having my physical copy collection. And the second reason why they are releasing this on digital only is so they can focus completely on the look of the game. Remedy is the studio behind this, and they seem to think that this is going to be the best looking game of the year. And I seem to believe them, because after seeing some of the gameplay footage that we've seen at the PlayStation Showcase and the trailers, this game does look really amazing, honestly. And I love the storytelling behind the original Alan Wake. It's been years since I played the original one, and honestly, I'm probably gonna go back and replay it. But if you haven't played the original, it basically takes the whole afraid of the dark tone and escalate it 100%. Makes it so much more terrifying and horrifying. And it uses a really unique mechanic with the light, where you use a flashlight to kind of battle away the darkness. It's a really cool mechanic. I'm also really interested to see what are they going to do with Alan Wake 2, because honestly, it doesn't seem like the same game. It doesn't seem like a sequel. It seems like it's more of a cult following, sort of, but you get to portray 2 different protagonists in this game. Of course, you get to play Alan Wake himself, but you also get to play a new character by the name of Saga, who is an FBI agent, which looks really cool. But we're gonna see more at Summerfest apparently, so keep your eyes peeled for that. This game releases on October 17th. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the game that's going to release almost within a week of Alone in the Dark, so it's going to be interesting to see Alan Wake 2, which is a sequel to a game that's all about battling the darkness, and Alone in the Dark going head to head. But honestly, I think both of these games are going to be fantastic, hence why they are my number 2 and my number 3. Before we get to our number 1 most anticipated survival horror game, take a look at these games that just barely missed out on getting on this list.
This is my ball, and don't you forget it.
In Ad Infinitum, you play a young German soldier who's trapped between 2 realities. Within one reality, you have the opportunity to explore a seemingly abandoned mansion in Berlin. Unveil the sinister secrets that haunt this place, while unraveling the echoes of its past. The other reality confronts you with the gruesome scenes of World War I.
But my number 1, 100%, 1000% has to go to Silent Hill 2 Remake. This is the game I am probably most excited for now in 2023. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously Resident Evil 4 is something I was even more excited about, but now that that has passed, Silent Hill 2 is the next game that I think I am most excited for, mainly just because I love survival horror, and Silent Hill and Resident Evil, those franchises were the games that kind of escalated the survival horror genre, and seeing both of those games released this year is fantastic. Now, I know I'm going to start by saying that officially Silent Hill 2 Remake does not have a release date. Actually, of all the games on this list, this is probably the one that is most likely to get delayed into 2024. However, as of right now, it still could come out in 2023, and I do think I have high hopes for it. I'm going to go over a couple of reasons why I think this game could come out this year. First off, Bloober came out and said that this game was technically ready a few months ago. After saying that, they obviously backpedaled on that, because I'm sure Konami and Sony were probably like, what the hell, dude? But the fact of the matter is they said it's technically ready. They're just pretty much waiting on when to announce the release date for whenever they get the go-ahead from Konami or Sony. And another thing that I think kind of hints to the fact that we are going to see this game come out this year is the fact that a very reliable leaker Dust Golem has been talking about the fact that apparently Konami's gonna release 3 new Silent Hill trailers on 3 different games. Apparently we're gonna get all of those trailers before Summerfest, which is on June 8th. So the next week or so, we should be seeing a bunch of trailers, including Silent Hill 2 Remake, Silent Hill Townfall, and Silent Hill Ascension. And I think with that Silent Hill 2 Remake trailer, we're going to get an official release date. The question is do they push it off into January, February, March timeline to avoid all of those big heavy hitters like Alan Wake 2 and Alone in the Dark? Or do they just take their chances, release it around October, November anyways, and just says, we're Silent Hill, we can do whatever the hell we want to do? Regardless of the fact, I think Silent Hill probably tells one of the best stories I've ever seen in gaming. And I think Silent Hill 2 specifically does that better than any other game out there. I think there's such a great atmosphere and environment to explore when you think about Silent Hill. And I think really my only concern comes down to the team behind it, and that's Bloober. I know they're going to have the experience when it comes to the environment and the atmosphere, and they pretty much have an easy story to follow. My only concern with this team is going to come down to the gameplay and the tension. Can they make those work? And that's the part I'm most concerned about. But the fact of the matter is I'm still a huge Silent Hill fan. I'm still excited for this game, and regardless if Bloober's the one behind it and they can potentially mess it up, I'm still anticipating this most of all over any other survival horror game releasing in 2023. But that's gonna do it for this episode of Nerd Space, guys. Let me know in the comments, which survival horror game are you most excited for releasing in 2023, and which game do you wish was on this list that I apparently didn't put on here? I'd love to know what you guys think. I'd love to know your opinions. Leave it down in the comments. Hit the like if you really enjoyed this video. Share this video with your friends and family. As always, guys, take care, and I'll see you on the next Nerd Space.